The following program is a CEV VideoActive presentation. VideoActive is an interactive format designed to enhance learning by combining student participation, class discussion, and assessment. VideoActive programs are divided into sections for ease of use. Each section is identified with both color and numeric codes located in the lower right corner of your monitor. At any time, you may rewind or fast forward to a desired section. CEV presents Basic Shop Safety, a VideoActive presentation. The goal of Basic Shop Safety is to teach fundamental shop safety techniques in order to provide a safe working and learning environment. Therefore, the objectives are 1. To learn about personal protective equipment used to protect eyesight, hearing, and the body. 2. To learn to avoid common shop hazards including mechanical, chemical, electrical, and fire hazards. And 3. To learn how to respond in the event of an emergency. Basic shop safety can be divided into 5 sections. Section 1, Introduction. Section 2, Personal Protection. Section 3, Recognizing Hazards. Section 4, Accident Response. And Section 5, Review. Following each section, a series of review questions will be presented. Answers are provided in the teacher's key. If you need more time to answer the questions or for discussion, stop the tape at any time. Basic shop safety. Safety. What does it mean to you? Safety is the condition of being safe from risk or danger. Today, accidents are recognized as a leading cause of death and injury for persons 1 to 37 years of age. Are you doing all that should be done to promote and teach safe shop behavior? Educational efforts need to be increased to raise safety attitudes among students, teachers, or anyone using the shop. Shop safety is an important issue for students, teachers, and employees. Working and learning in the shop can be fun. Many students like to work with their hands and enjoy developing skills that can be used to build things. But you must realize there are many dangerous situations that could occur. Teachers must be well aware of potential hazards in the shop and methods to help ensure that these hazards are prevented. Students must also learn to recognize hazardous situations and how to protect themselves from injury. Prepare for questions from Section 1. When a fireman responds to an emergency, he or she wears equipment that will protect against the fire and heat. When you work in the shop, you should wear equipment that will protect you as well. Let's talk about some of the items of personal protection equipment which you will be wearing in the shop. Personal protective equipment, sometimes referred to as PPEs, are devices or equipment worn to protect students, teachers, employees, or anyone who is working in a potentially dangerous area. All activities which take place in the shop require the use of some type of personal protective equipment. There are many items of personal protective equipment a student might wear, and different situations call for various combinations of PPEs. There are 3 specific items that students should wear when work is being done in the shop: eye protection, hearing protection, and clothing protection. First, let's take a look at eye protection. Anytime you are in the shop, take special care to protect your eyesight. A recent study showed that 15% of all injuries in the shop occur to the eyes. The eyes are particularly vulnerable to injury and should be well protected. The best eye protection is provided by industrial quality safety spectacles with side shields. Industrial quality safety spectacles have the Z87 designation on the frame and the manufacturer's trademark on the lens. If these designations are not present, the spectacles are not industrial quality. Ordinary prescription glasses are not adequate protection. People who wear glasses to correct vision have 2 options available to protect their eyesight. The first is to wear safety goggles over their glasses. The second is to have prescription safety spectacles made. Clear face shields are sometimes recommended in situations where there is a danger of fragments being thrown at the face of the person who is working. Remember, clear face shields alone provide excellent face protection, but inadequate eye protection. Safety glasses or safety goggles must be worn under face shields to provide full protection from penetrating materials. There are many excuses given for not wearing proper eye protection.
Because they kind of look, kind of weird, and it doesn't make me look very attractive to other people, and it's not very appealing, and it's a waste of time to go get them and all that.
Now take a look at a few good reasons to wear the proper eye protection. There is no excuse worth giving up your eyesight. It is important to protect your eyes, but just as important to protect your hearing. Hearing protection devices should be worn when noise is excessive. Noise from some types of equipment can exceed 120 decibels. The extent of hearing damage is determined by the intensity or loudness and the duration or length of exposure. Loud noise at brief intervals does little damage. However, if the interval is extended, hearing loss may occur. Either earplug or earmuff style protection can be worn. Earplugs can be worn when it is expected that the shop will be noisy throughout and for an extended period of time. Muff-style hearing protection devices may be worn when using a specific tool for a short period. Now that we've properly protected the eyes, face, and ears, what about the rest of your body? Protection from injury also means wearing the proper clothing. Students must wear clothing that is appropriate for the work being done. In general, long-sleeve shirts with cuffs buttoned, long trousers, and closed-toe shoes should be worn. For welding, clothing should be flame-resistant. Clothing made of natural fibers such as wool or cotton provide better protection than synthetic fibers like polyester. The construction of welding clothes is important as well. Pockets should have flaps so they do not catch sparks. Slacks should not have cuffs, and boots without laces are preferred. In general, do not wear clothes that provide places for sparks to get caught. The way your clothes fit can present another hazard. Do not wear loose-fitting clothing that can get caught in moving machinery. For instance, unbuttoned shirt sleeves could get caught in the drill press, which could cause serious injury. Ties should not be worn at any time. Long hair can also be a hazard in the shop. If you have long hair, wear it under a cap or tied back so it doesn't get caught in moving machinery. There are times when gloves must be worn. When welding, gloves serve a twofold purpose. They help protect against electrical shock, but they also protect against burns as a result of slag or extreme heat. However, gloves should not be worn around moving machinery. Instead of protecting the wearer, gloves can get caught in the moving parts and drag the student into the equipment. Use common sense and identify your personal protective equipment needs before beginning a task. If you are unsure, ask your instructor. Do not make a costly mistake. Prepare for questions from Section 2. As students working and learning in the shop, you will not only use personal protective equipment, but you should develop safe work habits that will lessen your chance of being injured. Let's talk about some of the skills that you can learn that will help protect you from getting hurt in the shop. There are a few things you should do every time you start to work in the shop. The first habit you should develop is to always take time to check the workplace. Look at the area surrounding where you will be working. Can you identify any potential hazards? What can be done to ensure safe conditions? Secondly, it is very important to use the right tools or equipment for the job. Carefully analyze the work to be done. Is this the right tool? Would a different tool work better? Next, be sure that the equipment is in proper working condition. Are cutting edges sharp? Is the tool worn excessively? Can the tool be reconditioned or should it be replaced? Is the tool adjusted properly? Let's examine in detail 4 of the more common laboratory hazards: mechanical, chemical, electrical, and fire. There are many mechanical hazards that everyone should be aware of in the shop. Many tools have sharp cutting edges, or what are referred to as pinch points. Many power tools have guards that should be in place every time the tool is operated. Table saws must be guarded. Guards on table saws serve 2 purposes. One is to shield fingers from contact with the cutting edge, and the other is to provide anti-kickback protection. The grinder is another tool that must be properly guarded and adjusted. The tool rest must be no more than 1/8 of an inch from the grinding wheel. If the tool rest is further from the wheel, there is a danger of having fingers or materials lodged between the rest and the grinding wheel. Remember to wear eye protection when operating mechanical equipment, and do not forget the face shield if flying fragments are a possibility. Do not wear gloves when operating moving machinery. Chemical substances present a problem because they can affect safety in a number of ways. Solvents, gasoline, and other fuels present fire hazards. Many times people store gasoline in containers which are not approved. Gasoline should be stored in safety cans, which should be kept in cabinets that are specially designed for flammable materials. Paints and solvents should be stored in cabinets as well. Other chemicals present skin, eye, and respiratory irritation problems. Carburetor cleaner is used in the shop where small gas engine work is done. Carburetor cleaner is a particularly caustic chemical that can cause chemical burns to the skin and eyes. Students working with chemicals should know what to do in case of an accident. When appropriate, look at the material safety data sheets for instructions on the materials being used. Know where the material safety data sheets are stored in your shop. Know the hazards that are unique to the materials you are planning to use. What are the ventilation requirements? Is there a fire or explosion danger? How should spills be handled? What should be done if the material is spilled on the skin? What personal protective equipment is recommended? What should be done if the material is swallowed? How can the materials be properly disposed of? Who do you call if an accident occurs and you need help? Material safety data sheets are designed to provide this information, so easy access is important. Electricity is the most common source of energy in the shop. Electricity is a very efficient source of energy for power tools, and when used properly, it is very safe. However, when improperly used, electricity can be lethal. Tools with frayed cords should not be used until the electrical cord is replaced. Do not use tools that have been repaired by taping the cord. Some tools which are designed to be operated by a 3-prong plug have had the grounding prong removed so that it can be used in a 2-prong outlet. This is not safe. The grounding prong protects the operator from short circuits by directing stray electricity to the ground. If the grounding prong has been removed, the electricity will take the path of least resistance to the ground. That path will very likely be through the person operating the tool. Another precaution is to never operate electrical equipment outdoors or in wet conditions unless the circuit is protected by a ground fault circuit interrupter. The National Electric Code requires that all outdoor outlets and outlets in wet areas such as kitchens and bathrooms be protected by a ground fault circuit interrupter. Ground fault circuit interrupters sense short circuits and immediately interrupt the flow of electricity should a ground fault occur. When working with mechanical, chemical, and electrical components, fire is a real possibility. Cluttered shops are dangerous and provide fuel for fire. This is particularly important in shops where welding takes place. Paper, lumber scraps, sawdust, and oily rags can provide fuel for the flame. Before welding, it is vitally important that any combustible materials be removed. Sparks can ignite combustible materials several feet away. Oily rags are a particularly combustible fire hazard. They should always be stored in a container with a tight-fitting lid. Be sure to keep the proper fire protection equipment present in the shop and know where the equipment is located. The shop has many potential hazards that can threaten the safety and welfare of students and instructors. Although there are possible dangers, most can be prevented by the development of safe working habits. Now let's discuss different types of shop hazards. Do you personally know of any accidents that happened as a result of an unidentified shop hazard?
I had a young man a year ago that cut the end of his finger off in a router. It's a real easy thing to do, but he used the equipment at home. His father was in construction, and he used the equipment at home, and he got real comfortable with that piece of equipment, and so he forgets to remind himself that it could hurt him. And so you just have to continually teach it and continually remind yourself that it's dangerous. I've had one eye accident in my shop, and a student knew he had been taught not to do it, but he was playing around and he took two hammers and hit them together. When you do that, a hammer's face is real hard and brittle, and it'll shatter. And it shattered, and when it does, it'll shoot metal splinters. And he actually blinked when he did it, and it was what saved his eye, but when he blinked, it shot a piece of steel off the hammer face and stuck through his eyelid and into his eye, and ended up not causing any permanent damage, but could have very easily. If you get in a hurry and you want to do something fast, then you're going to do something that you know you shouldn't do. And then if you use a tool, especially if you use a tool that's not meant to do a particular job, that'll always get you in a problem. Using tools that are defective, something's wrong with the piece of equipment, but you need to go ahead and do the job, so you use that tool, and you end up in a bad situation. But getting in a hurry more than any one thing. If you're in a hurry to do the job, then you're going to get hurt.
Can you identify the shop hazard in the following segments? Dr. David Lawver of Texas Tech University will explain.
We have a situation here where the gasoline is stored in a proper container. However, the container is not in its proper place. Under no circumstances should flammable liquids be near sparks from grinding or welding. This student appears to be ready to grind. However, if you'll notice, in addition to the gloves and the face shield, he should also have eye protection devices on. Safety requirements are that in addition to face shields, that you also have industrial quality eyewear over your eyes, even underneath face shields. This means that he should have some Z87 approved safety spectacles or safety goggles underneath the face shield. This is a perfect example of how ag mechanics laboratories can get sometime. You notice all the clutter. This is a situation that could prove to be dangerous, particularly a falling hazard and just general unsafe conditions due to poor housekeeping.
Prepare for questions from Section 3. Now that we've learned about preventing shop hazards and personal protective equipment, we should never have another shop accident again. Not necessarily. The law of averages says that accidents will happen, but when accidents do happen, you should be prepared. Unfortunately, accident rates and health problems associated with working in the shop are shocking. Results from a study in Texas showed that in 239 randomly selected schools, 1,449 accidents occurred in a one-year period. This means about 4 accidents occur in shops every day in Texas. How do you react when an accident happens in your shop? Bobby Sanchez, a licensed paramedic, will give you some basic procedures to follow if an accident occurs.
Here are some general guidelines to follow in your department in case an emergency does arise. First, you want to check your scene, make sure it's secure. You don't want to get any more people injured other than your patient. You need to get help immediately, either your teacher or administrative staff, whoever that might be. Contact 911 immediately if necessary. Potential injuries in your department might include abrasions or lacerations. Important as far as treating an abrasion or laceration is applying direct pressure to get the bleeding stopped. If your bleeding does not stop, you need to contact 911. Once you apply your direct pressure, you do not want to look at the injury over and over again. You want to maintain the direct pressure until medical evaluation is sought. Another potential injury is burns. With your burns, first off, you need to stop the burning process by either removing the clothes or putting out the fire, if you have a fire extinguisher possibly. As far as burn care, you need to just grab a dry, clean cloth, cover your patient up. You do not want to place any type of Vaseline, petroleum, anything like that on the burn. Chemical injuries is another potential injury. When a chemical is introduced into the eye, you need to flush with copious amounts of water. Maintain flush until EMS arrives. You do need to seek medical attention for that. Also, chemicals introduced onto the skin, again, you need to stop the burning process. You need to remove any excess clothing that might be saturated in the skin. If it's a dry chemical, try to remove all the dry chemical by brushing. If it's not antagonized by water, go ahead and flush the skin with water. Ingested chemicals, you need to refer to your MSDS manuals to see how to treat those. Many of the chemicals you can induce vomit, some you cannot. Electrical shocks is another potential injury. You need to secure your scene once again, make sure that the electrical current is still not conducting through your patient. You don't want to have any more patients than at all possible. Many of these injuries might include burns. You just go back to a dry, sterile dressing. Eye injuries, penetrating eye trauma, you need to go ahead and either encourage your patient to keep the uninjured eye closed or bandage the uninjured eye. You do not want your patient moving either your right or left eye. Both eyes will move the same amount. The injured eye, you could worsen your injury while looking around. Broken bones, you want to reassure your patient, keep them calm, try to keep movement to a minimum until EMS or a proper first aid provider can immobilize that extremity. You do not want them furthering their injury by any type of movement.
Remember, check the scene, call 911, and provide basic care for the victim. Proper emergency procedures are critical knowledge for both students and teachers. You do not have to be an expert, but if you know how to react when an accident occurs, you could save a life. Prepare for questions from Section 4. Now that we've covered the basics, let's review. Personal protective equipment is a must when working in the shop. Do not forget eye protection, hearing protection, and clothing protection. Learn to recognize potential hazards. Inspect the area before beginning work. Use the proper tool, and make sure the equipment is in good working condition. Try to prevent mechanical, chemical, electrical, and fire hazards in the workplace. Know how to react if an accident occurs. Check the scene to be sure additional injuries will not occur while helping the victim. Call for help from your instructor or call 911, and provide basic care for the victim until help arrives. Education is the key. Do your part to help prevent accidents and make the shop a safer place to learn and work.
Craig, wait.
What?
Aren't you forgetting something?
No, everything's lined up.
Your goggles, they're not doing you any good on the top of your head.
Yeah, they look goofy. And
You need to
they don't-
protect your eyes.
All right, yeah, you're right.
Prepare for a 20-question final quiz.